Alright, welcome back to All Ride. This is the second installment of our bike setup series. The reason we're doing this series is because we've seen a lot of riders who are really shortchanging themselves through poor bike setup. You can spend as much money as you want on a bike and components, but if you haven't set them up to suit your riding style and your preferences, you're not going to get the most out of your bike. We want to offer a bit of our own expertise and knowledge on how to set up a bike correctly. In the last episode, we had a look at how to set up your cockpit correctly, and in this episode, we're talking about contact points. Those are your grips, your pedals, your saddle, and your tires. First three, obviously your contact between your body and the bike, and the last category is contact between the bike and the ground. My helmet could probably fit into that last category, but we'll leave that for another week. As we've said, doing the right adjustments here can really improve the comfort and control you experience while riding. So let's get into it. Looking at your grips, these really are a thing of personal preference, so don't let anyone tell you what you need and what you should have. Really, you have to figure this out for yourself. Some factors to consider are the width and diameter of your grips. If you have a bigger hand, that's going to be much more comfortable to use. And if you suffer from arm pump, a larger diameter grip can be helpful in that regard sometimes. When you're buying a grip, try and go for a soft compound. Not only will this help your comfort, but also your control over the bike. Getting a grip that locks onto the bar through a tightening bolt is probably going to be very helpful for a lot of riders, especially if you find that your current grips are twisting on the bars. This is terrible for your control and also not great for comfort. Saddles can be a pretty tricky thing to get right on the bike. We've all experienced the discomfort of having a wrong fitting saddle at some point in our lives. We really recommend that you check in with your local bike shop or do a bit of research in your area to find out where you can get a proper bike fitting done so you can figure out the right saddle for you. The width of the saddle will correspond to the width of your sit bones, which varies obviously from individual to individual. And then the rest of the saddle design is really a matter of personal preference. I found a flatter saddle with quite a supportive foam has been ideal for me. You don't want a foam that's going to collapse on longer rides or a foam that's too harsh on the body. When setting up your saddle angle, you want to get your bike on a level surface like a parking lot or your garage floor, and then get the saddle to be as level with the ground as possible. If you're prone to doing a lot of steep climbs, you might find tilting the nose of the saddle down slightly to be helpful, but otherwise, keep it flat. In terms of moving your saddle forwards and backwards on the rails, moving it forward will shorten your reach while seated on the bike. Moving it back will lengthen that reach. Lengthening the reach could make you feel more comfortable on longer rides on flatter trails. Moving it forward puts you in quite an aggressive position over the pedals, which is helpful when climbing, but can make you feel a bit more cramped on the bike. Adjust here in small increments and find what works best for you and the trails you like to ride. Saddle height can be quite a tricky one to get right. The way we would recommend setting this up is by sitting on your saddle, putting your heel on the pedal and getting your leg to just about a straight extension. This means that when you are in a normal pedaling position with your toe or midfoot on the pedal, there will be a slight bend in your knee, which is ideal. If your saddle is too high, this will cause your hips to rock from side to side, which can lead to injuries. If it is too low, too much pressure is put through your knees, which can also lead to injuries. So getting this right is very important. Finally, if your saddle is not sitting on top of a dropper post, you really do not know what you're missing. There are no excuses, even for the weight weenies. There's some really nice, affordable, lightweight, short travel dropper posts out there. Be sure to kit your bike out with a dropper post. This will improve your comfort and your ability to ride safely and faster on the trails, essentially. When it comes to pedals, there's obviously the great divide between clips and flats. Clipless pedals are known for being more secure and for being more efficient for racing and longer endurance rides. There's a big factor of personal preference when it comes to choosing either an SPD style pedal like Shimano's or the egg beater style of Crank Brothers or Time pedals. The SPDs will give you a much more locked in feel, which some people prefer, whereas the egg beater style pedals allow for quite a bit of float, which allows you to move your feet on the pedals before unclipping. I personally prefer having a bit of float. It helps me with cornering and jumping, but this really is a matter of personal preference, so you need to work out what you want and choose accordingly. Clipless pedals that have a platform around the cleat are orientated more towards trail riders. They can give you a more secure feel on the pedals, so if you're looking for that, maybe it's worth looking into. But your marathon and cross-country style riders will usually go for that cleat-only option just to save weight. Finally, let's talk quickly about the fundamentals of tire choice. Looking at your tire width, your tread pattern and your casing are the three main points that we consider when choosing tires. For the more marathon orientated rider, a 2.2, 2.25 inch wide tire is ideal. We notice a lot of people here are compromising on grip and rather opting for a faster rolling tire. This isn't always the best option, and it might be worth experimenting with a tyre that has a bit more traction, especially if you enjoy a bit of trail here and there and having control over your bike. For the trail or gravity orientated rider, a 2.4 inch or 2.5 inch tyre is going to be ideal, with a nice beefy tread pattern to give you maximum traction on the descents. Marathon and cross-country style bikes will often come spec'd with a very lightweight casing. This is great for rolling resistance and having a fast tyre. Similarly, trail and enduro style bikes will often come spec'd with quite a lightweight casing. This could work for a lighter rider or a rider who is less aggressive, but if you are more aggressive or on the heavier side of things, you really want to look into a stronger casing. This will give you a more solid tyre that performs better on the trail and will definitely reduce your puncturing. Hopefully we have given you some helpful pointers here for further dialing in your setup. Remember, a lot of these things boil down to personal preference, so be sure to take your time to figure out what really works best for you. Don't let your ride be ruined by something simple like your grips or your saddle. Give us a like, hit that subscribe button and get the notification bell on so you don't miss the next EP where we're going to be talking about suspension setup. This can be quite intimidating, but we're going to break it down for you. Let us know in the comments what you found helpful or if you have any questions. We'll catch you next time. Cheers! You're recording. It's game time. It will allow for you to ride safer and even faster, conserving more energy over longer rides because you aren't getting kicked in the arse by your saddle. Having a bit more float in the pedals, which helps you move on the bike, and I just